Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tone Wise Productions. Today we're here with a very special demo. We're going to be comparing pretty much every blues breaker I could get my hands on in the board below. Check it out, very nice. Not the most pretty wired, but don't mind the mess. You got everything you need here. And yeah, we're gonna run through these one by one and give you guys some comparisons and some different looks at different gain settings, and you can make your own decisions. Let's get into it. Alrighty, moving right into it. Here's my clean tone. This is my PRS Special Custom Semi-Hollow. Going into my 2-Rock Classic Reverb, out into my aux box, and it sounds a little something like this. Now we'll start off with the Marshall BluesBreaker. This is, I believe, a reissue. And all of these are set fairly unity right now. We already did this beforehand, just a little bit of gain and a little above unity. A sound you know and love. All right, now moving right down the line here, you'll see that we have everything listed out on the top here, but I will let you know what they are as we go through. Starting off first is the Analogman King of Tone. Now to the King of Tone. Moving right down the line, we have the Kingtone Duellist. And that is just the heavy hand side on this one. You'll notice it's the only one that's on. The heavy hand is the BluesBreaker side. The string singer is the tube screamer side. Moving down the line, the Coriolis Hail to the King. Now going over to the Snouse Blackbox. Now the VFE Blues King. Now over to the Tone Geek Blue Book. And last but not least, the Frog Pedal Blues Master. So you can see, I mean, we're not talking a ton of difference across these. There's definitely subtle differences. Again, tolerances and potentiometers. We got these as close as we could. It is difficult to kind of gauge everything, especially when you're moving over 9 pedals. That being said, I think we did fairly well. So we'll kind of move through these and bounce back and forth and do some comparisons to the original now. So looking back at the Marshall BluesBreaker, which started it all, famous for the use of by John Mayer and many others. And I really like what that does, where it tightens up the bass. It's a thing that all of these do really well. Kind of tightens up the bass, slight mid boost, very focused mid boost, and a little extra top end, but nothing nuts. We're not talking dramatic EQ shifts, but it is enough to kind of tighten up a boomy amp. Big reason why they go well with anything Fender based. That being said, the one issue I do have with these, or not issue, but the one kind of thing that's consistent across the board is these pedals are apparently notorious for not a lot of volume output, from what you can tell. If you look down the board here, you'll see to get unity on a lot of these, we're talking well over 12 o'clock on most of them. And that's just kind of the way it is. So the sweep isn't that amazing on some of them. The Blues Master over here being the big one, that's a bit of a difference. It has a boost built into the post section of the drive to bring the level up to kind of compensate for that issue that you see in this circuit. So now, we'll bounce back and forth from the original to the others. You can kind of make a comparison here. So we've got the BluesBreaker again. And now we'll look at the Prince of Tone next to it. So yeah, we're gonna readjust these, dial up the gain a little bit now, and kind of compare these in a medium drive setting, and I think the differences between them really start to show at this point moving forward. So we'll catch you back in a second. All right, we're back. We've retuned all of these pedals, added the gain up. We're more in like a medium overdrive territory now with all of these. We're just kind of gonna bounce back and forth. I may play a little longer with each one so you can really start to hear the differences. I think this is the point where the mild redesigns of the circuits start to show. When you add just a bit of grit in the improvements and the changes that have been made from the original to what you see below from these other designers and pedal manufacturers. So, starting off again with the Marshall BluesBreaker. Moving over to the Prince Tone. Kingtone. Kingtone Duellist. Add a little more to that one. Coriolis Coriolis Effects, Hail to the King. The Snouse Blackbox. The VFE Blues King. The Tone Geek Project Blue Book. And the Frog Pedal Blues Master. Now I think here's where, like I said, the differences really start to show. I think the ones like kind of the ones that are the changes off the base platform, you know, your Prince of Tone, your King of Tone, your Duellist, the Black Box, the Hail to the King, and the Blues King to an extent, really start to differ here. The Tone Geek, the Blues Master, and the original Marshall are all pretty much the original circuit, true to form, just in different packaging, easier to obtain. And with that being the case, they do share a lot of similarities with the original Marshall. And I think bouncing between those, you kind of get a feel of where the change is there. I definitely feel like there's a bit more bite inside of the Duellist and the Analogman stuff. Same thing with the Hail to the King. And the Black Box has got a lot of really cool features. I'm really enjoying the Presence Knob, which is the same thing we have on the Hail to the King from Coriolis Effects. These two right here next to each other. You can see the Presence Knobs, the small ones here and the big white one there. And those really add a lot of top end bite to them. And I think it makes a really big difference with the way the sound comes through. And you can kind of hear that. I think there's a bit more upper mid-range and it's a little tighter. Whoops. And then you look at the similarities between the Marshall and, like I said, the Tone Geek and the frog pedals, which are true to form, the original BluesBreaker. I mean, to my ears, almost indistinguishable, and that's a great thing. I mean, this was rebuilt before the reissues came out, and that's really what you're hoping for with the true to form pedal here, is that it really recreates the sound of the original. All right, now we're going to mess with the external switches that a lot of these include, really show the breadth that this format of pedal, the BluesBreaker pedal, has come to encompass. We'll mess with some of the switches on some of the other ones here on the Duellist, the Black Box, the Prince of Tone, and we'll really see kind of where this circuit was and where it's been taken to and the kind of changes that exist inside of it. So let's get cooking with that. All right, and we're back. Here's what we're looking at now. Each one of these is kind of set up into the thing they do well, in my opinion, really showing the differences between them. A lot of the external option switches engaged now. We're going to look at the BluesBreaker first as a frame of reference for what this circuit was, and then move our way through into what it's become. So we're going to jump around a little bit, doing the more true to form stuff before we move our way out into the way this circuit has been changed. So starting off, everything here is in a medium overdrive setting at this point. Medium, maybe a little bit higher because of the clipping options that exist in the others to really show the difference. So here we go. The BluesBreaker. All right, now moving right along to the Frog Pedals Bluesmaster, which is a supposedly one-to-one circuit of the BluesBreaker with a boost on the backside to bring up that volume. So we've really cranked the volume a little bit. We're going to be pushing the front end of this amp to show really what it's capable of. Really not a whole lot of gain going on here. We'll even dial it back a little bit more and bring that volume up just to really show you how hard it can hit the front end. And here's nothing. Great stuff. I mean, what an improvement right there. You can see that the BluesBreaker is pretty much maxed out on volume right now, and we're not getting much more than just a bit above unity, although it does do some great EQ shaping. All right, so back to the BluesBreaker and comparing that now to the Tone Geek, so we get a frame of reference. Now, what's special about the Tone Geek? Well, in talking to Ryan, you see these two MK1 or MKV1, MKV2 switches. Supposedly, there's a lot of speculation on the internet that a second variation of the BluesBreaker existed, and whatever this circuit is, a lot of pedal manufacturers have based their take on that. It in fact does not exist, and it was a bunch of bad internet information as I understand it. So the one that we were looking at before, the V1, is the original iteration that actually existed, and then Ryan has taken that and also added in the V2, which is the incorrect assumption of what the pedal was. So let's look at that compared to the BluesBreaker. So definitely a bit more bite, more top end, less bass, which is cool. All right, moving on from here, we are going to look at the VFE Blues King. The cool part about the Blues King is that it includes both the hard and soft clipping as knobs, and you can see it here up top. So you can blend in the amount of these clipping diodes that you want. I believe the original circuit is a soft clipping one. I'm sure if I'm wrong, somebody on the internet will correct me. So looking at the original again. Great stuff. I love being able to add in the soft and hard clipping. You kind of get this, I know it's not really what's happening, but it's the feel of it, that Klon style parallel mix thing, where it feels like there's almost a clean sound underneath the drive. It's a really pleasant thing to play off of. There's a lot of note articulation in there. All right, moving down the line here to the last few. We're gonna look at the Snouse Blackbox. This has a boost built in, as well as a couple of modes to, I believe, tighten it, and I think it's like a modern setting as opposed to the classic on there. And it really shapes the EQ a bit more, and I really like what they did here. That boost function, also very much like the Bluesmaster, is adding a bunch of volume on the output, which is something the original lacks. So, the original BluesBreaker. A lot more gain on tap there. You can definitely feel that it's sculpting into the tone, really pushing that high mid area, really bringing some more treble in and tightening up the bass, which is very cool. Dig that a lot for this kind of pedal, especially with these kind of gain settings where we're up a little bit higher. All right, now we're gonna look at the Duellist. The Duellist being Jesse Davies' creation. Love this pedal. It's been on my personal board for ages. The heavy hand side is the only side we're looking at today. I do like mixing the two, but for the purposes of this video, we're just looking at BluesBreakers, so we're going to avoid stacking them. Although it is a wonderful sound, I'll have a full demo out on that in the future you'll be able to take a look at. So, back to the Marshall BluesBreaker. So yeah, we have this in the fat setting right now, which is bringing out a bit more low end, a little beefier on those low. Definitely some more chunk to the bottom end there, which is great in a very pleasant way without being too loose. Bit more gain on tap, a little bit more of a refined sound, and definitely a bit more volume on tap than the original. Now we're going to look at a plethora of pedals here. The Prince of Tone, the King of Tone, and the Coriolis effects. Hail to the King. All three of these are more or less the same circuit. Different components are used internally from the Coriolis effects ones as opposed to the Analogman ones, but it is inherently the same circuit. The Coriolis effects is just a smaller form factor and has the dip switches on the outside. That being the case, I didn't feel like opening up the King of Tone for this video, so the King of Tone is a low gain on both sides, but we are going to stack them to compensate for the gain, and then look at just what the Prince of Tone offers in the overdrive setting. And the Hail to the King is only one side, but it has the hard clip and soft clip modes both engaged. So we're going to bounce back and forth between these and run a little comparison between the three of them. So to start off, the Marshall BluesBreaker. King of Tone. Hail to the King. And now the Prince of Tone. I figured I'd just show how they all sound rolled back a bit in the higher gain settings. They all clean up about the same. They sound fantastic. It's something this pedal is really known for, is keeping kind of that EQ curve it has while retaining a lot of the high end when you roll the volume off. Didn't really feel like it was necessary to go in depth with that, but I know some people would probably want to see it. So there you go. So it's been a quick look at all of these kind of the different features they have. You know, all pedals based on the legacy of what the BluesBreaker was or is, especially with the reissue out now. As far as my favorites, I mean, it varies day to day. Obviously, for my own personal use, I own the Duellist, the Hail to the King, the King of Tone, all on my board. The rest were graciously lent to me by Ryan, the Tone Geek. So big thanks to him for that. That being said, I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of the options you have here. The one I'm truly surprised with that I've really liked a lot is the Blackbox and the VFE. Two I've never tried out before, and both were pleasantly great. Really can't go wrong with any of these choices, and I hope if you're looking for a BluesBreaker in the future and you stumble across this video, it helps you narrow in on what your personal taste in these styles of pedals are. So until next time, this has been ToneWise Productions. We'll catch you out there.